Man, that would have been a long flight back for the Eagles if they lost that game. But they got a big W. They're 1-0. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank back in Philadelphia. I'm Dave Zangaro here in Sao Paulo. Rube, that was a crazy game.
It was. 4 times the Packers went ahead, and every time the Eagles, there was a lot they did not do well, but I thought they showed tremendous resilience. Every time the Packers took the lead, they battled back. It was a weird game that way. It was a really ugly game as far as penalties, turnovers, missed tackles, miscommunications, blown coverages. There was a lot that kind of points to a loss. But there were key moments, I thought, where they made big plays on defense. I mean, they gave up a ton of yards, 414, a lot of yards, a lot of points. But when they had to be great, they were. And that was a good sign because this team last year, at the end of last year, does not win this game.
I totally agree. Now, what I will say is this is sounding a lot like what we talked about on the podcast when the Eagles were 10-1 last year. They get a win. They show some toughness. For one game, I think it's fine. But if it's week 5, week 6, week 7, and we're still talking about these things, then it's a different issue. But for just this week, I think if you're an Eagles fan, you're happy they get the win. A lot to clean up, but you'd rather clean up from a win than a loss.
Yeah, and I think there are some extenuating circumstances. I think the field conditions is one. Being in South America is two. Just the travel, the logistics. It made for a sloppy game. And I think just the opener, just being the opener. I mean, kind of like the New England game last year. They really hung on to win. They were, I don't say lucky to win it, but could have gone either way. It was just kind of that kind of game where you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to survive till it's all zeros, and they did that. I think considering the way last year ended, it was really important to win this game. And I know all the guys are saying, we don't think about that, we don't talk. But I think if you're human and you were here last year, it's back there somewhere. And to show this kind of fight and this kind of character and this kind of resilience in the face of a lot of adversity, to me, kind of, I think really finally puts an end to last year and shows that this is a different team. Now, if we get to December and they start losing games, then we can revisit it. But I really liked what I saw.
Yeah, I agree with you because there were ups and downs in every phase of this game, offense, defense, and special teams, but they did enough to win. I was impressed by the resiliency, like you mentioned, and you're right. They made big plays and big moments on offense, especially. I mean, that interception from Jalen on the penultimate drive is about as bad as one you'll ever see. He took points off the board and put them in a situation where they could have lost the game. But then to see the next drive, 7 minutes and 15 seconds off the clock, you'd love to see them punch in the touchdown there. But that was a really impressive drive. He had that run on the sideline, running through guys. That was really impressive. And then you had the 2 quick passes to Devontae Smith. He showed me a lot on that final drive.
Yeah, I think he converted a 2nd and 8 and a 2nd and 13, I think, on that drive. Made some guys miss. And, his numbers don't jump out at you. What is he, 7 for 84 maybe? Something like that. But I thought he played really tough. And those 2 catches on that last drive, because they were not in running situations. I mean, they were backed up there. I think one was 2nd and 8 and one was 2nd and 13, I think. But yeah, he showed me a lot. The numbers were kind of just typical Devontae numbers, but he was really good. And he's just so clutch and so tough. And everyone's going to talk about Saquon and AJ, and they should be certainly celebrated because they were great. But don't forget Devontae.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a really good point because he's the guy who's going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit. When you look at the stat sheet, AJ had 5 catches for 119 yards and the touchdown. That included that big 67-yarder early in the second half. And then Saquon was just spectacular. Player of the game, 24 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and did it through the air as well. Had 2 catches for 23 yards. That 18-yard touchdown catch was just an absolute thing of beauty.
Yeah, and it's the kind of catch. And I'm just before it was a 2nd and 8 with it was a 2nd and 13 with 2:23 left from the 35. Devontae goes for 16 yards, And then 2 plays later, it was a 2nd and 8 on the 17 with 2:10 left, and he goes for 11. That's when he made Stokes miss and somebody else Bullard, I think. But yeah, Saquon, I didn't know what to expect from Saquon, honestly, and I just didn't know which Saquon the Eagles got. And I think that's fair because he didn't have a great year last year. He's battled injuries, but then you balance that with he's never had this kind of talent around him. And, he played 43 games with Daniel Jones and caught 2 touchdowns of 18 yards or more. He played 1 quarter with Jalen and caught 1. That's a tough play. Great body control. Got his feet in bounds. That's a wide receiver play. Kind of reminded me of the Miles Sanders one against Washington. Just in that it's a play that running backs don't make. I really like where he is, and I think he answered a lot of questions. I thought he ran tough late in the game. His carries were piling up, and you want to see, what does he have left? I thought after the Reed Blankenship interception, I think the first play went to Devontae, and then he got the ball from the 16 for 3 carries and punched it in. I think he went for 5, 9, and then 2 yards for a touchdown. And I love that. That's late in the game. That's a running back who's just as strong late in the game as he is early in the game. And Kellen Moore just kept dialing him up. It reminded me of Shane Steichen. He would just, hey, until they show they can stop him, we're just going to keep giving him the ball. And they did. And I thought he showed. Yeah, I think he was struggling early with his cleats. I think he put studs in after the first drive. He had that -5 on his first carry. But once he kind of got his footing figured out, man, he looked great.
Yeah, he really did. And I think that's the kind of performance the Eagles kind of envisioned when they signed him to that 3-year, $37 million contract. That's the type of performance you want. It's him doing it in all facets of the game,
right.
And really like running through contact. That was a really big thing they wanted to get out of the running back position that they thought was lacking. And there were some of these plays where, I mean, it looks miserable to try to tackle this guy. And I talked to a few players in the locker room. Reed Blankenship was one of them. I wanted a few defensive players' perspective on it after having faced Saquon with the Giants. I mean, those guys are just so happy that they only have to thud him in practice and they don't have to try to take him to the ground.
Yeah. We didn't see him. We didn't see a lot of this in training camp from Saquon, just because of the nature of
it's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to, just because of the way they practice. It's not conducive to running backs making, circus catches. So, for me, I went into tonight and it was one of my biggest questions was, look, I mean, because he wasn't good for most of the last few years with the Giants. He was hurt. 3.9 average over the last 4 years. This is a different guy. This was the Saquon of 2018. Come back to life. And if that's the Saquon they got, man, they really got a bargain at $12 million a year.
Yeah, and look, we're 1 game into this. It's a long way to go, but this is
right.
exactly what they were hoping for. He was really good tonight. And some of those big carries, like when he's running through guys, you can see it fires up the whole team. Like the offensive linemen love it. The receivers love it. Jalen loves it. Like you can tell it gives the whole offense just a next level of juice.
Yeah, and it just makes them so much harder to defend. If you're a defensive coordinator, there's, and I like DeAndre Swift, and I think he's a really good player, but I mean, this is next level stuff. I think DeAndre had 5 touchdowns all year last year. Now, granted, Jalen was getting the ball at the goal line, but still, Saquon has 3. He might go over 5 next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's Saquon figured it out. Just don't stop at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Although maybe with the way the tush push looked tonight, maybe we won't see it as much anymore.
Yeah, I thought they got a bad spot on that one. I
don't know. I mean, I didn't have a great vantage point and no TVs or replays, so
yeah,
it was a little tough for me there.
Yeah, but yeah, you couldn't ask for any more from Saquon. First Eagle with 3 touchdowns in his first game as an Eagle since T.O. and 20 years ago this week.
I bet you know who the last Eagle to have 4 was, because we were probably both looking it up when they were at the goal
1 yard line. Yeah, it was B-Dub. It was Brian Westbrook.
Yeah,
2008.
Yeah, and there's only 7 who have done it.
Yeah,
I thought he was good. He probably should have gotten that chance. Honestly, that was a heck of a play by him too, just to dive on the football.
Yeah,
after that bad snap.
It
You
was.
concerned about some of the snaps? It looked like there was some miscommunication there.
Yeah, I think the one wasn't a bad snap. It was just
Early.
miscommunication. Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a concern. And I mean, there was going to be some of this. But yeah, they got to clean that up. There's a lot they got to clean up. Let's be honest. But and that's a big one. I'm more concerned with Jalen's judgment on some of those interceptions. Well, the two interceptions. I thought he'd be beyond that this year. Maybe it was naive of me to think that he would put all those problems behind him. But they look like 2023 interceptions, just thrown into cover into traffic. The one across his body trying to get to AJ. I mean, in the end zone, you're not open very long. Everything's condensed. And that was just, I mean, he's in his 5th year. He should not be making those throws.
Yeah. And look, we praised him for the resilience he showed, but you're right. I mean, I think if there's one thing to be worried about coming out of this game, it's his decision-making. That the long throw to Devontae into just, there were a lot of green and yellow around Devontae Smith there. And then even the pass before the interception in the end zone was nearly picked off. I mean, the decision making from Hurts needs to get better. He knows it. I mean, he clearly knows it. You're not throwing picks and ignoring it. But yeah, it is concerning that. And this is after we talked about all summer how he wasn't throwing the football to the other team. He was protecting the ball, and then in the first game, he has 2 really bad interceptions.
Yeah, and you're going to throw interceptions, and I get that, but it was just the nature of them. They looked like last year, and that was concerning.
Yeah. How about some little odds and ends on offense? We can just go back and forth. 21 personnel, 2 running backs on the field. It's something they did in training camp, and I was like, man, let's actually see if they use it in a game. Not only did they use it, it worked. I mean, they had Will Shipley as some eye candy out there, and it really seemed to do the job.
Yeah, he drew some coverage. I'm not sure why, but no, I like Will Shipley. But yeah, I mean, you have Devontae and Will Shipley. You know, what are you doing here? But yeah, it was a little unscouted look, and yeah, they got a nice gain out of it.
How about what they did with the 3rd wide receiver? I'm interested when the snap counts come out. It looked like they were really rotating at that spot. Maybe it's just because Jahan Dotson is kind of catching up with this offense. And there were a few times he looked like he was kind of out of place. They had to move him to the right spot.
Yeah.
But it was really like him, Johnny Wilson, and Britton Covey. Johnny Wilson had a great block on the outside, I think, for Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I didn't see that. We're limited also in what we can see. But we know he's a good blocker. It was good to see him. He got the one target down the right sideline.
And I liked that throw from Jalen.
Yeah.
Throw it up to the 8-foot receiver when single coverage on a broken play.
I think Dotson's one target was the one that almost got picked off.
Yeah, that was a bad throw. That was to the left sideline. Jalen, he pump faked, and then he waited for the defender to jump on him. No, that could have been ugly.
Yeah. Never a good idea to throw the ball where you pump faked. The whole idea is
yeah. But, although, and I want to give him credit on the A.J. Brown touchdown, though, because he did such a great job of moving the safety with his eyes and then going back to A.J. Those two have such a fun rapport. Yeah. A.J. was playing angry. I mean, Saquon is going to be the headline of this game, but 5 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, and he had a little he was mixing it up with Jair, pretty good. Jair Alexander. There was one play.
Yeah, he was following him in this game.
So there was that one play where it was incomplete pass to AJ, and they kind of a little pushing, a little pushing back. AJ's probably kind of lucky he didn't get a penalty because he gave him a pretty good shove. And then it was 2 plays later, he had a 13-yard gain on Jair, and then in the third quarter, he had the 60.
67 yarder.
That, by the way, is the second longest completion or touchdown of Jalen Hurts' career.
Oh, wow.
The longest was an 81-yarder to Deshaun Jackson. You forget that they played together, but at the end of 2020, 81-yarder to Deshaun. But yeah, and I just loved what AJ did with the ball in his hands after he caught it. I mean, I saw
the next gen stats. I think it was 21.55 miles per hour on that play. He can move, man.
He can move, and it's tough because, I mean, he took that angle across the field and Jair Alexander couldn't catch him. And he kind of used the ref as a pick a little bit
I like that.
at the end of the play.
At least the refs were good for something tonight.
He's so good. I mean, he's just
bad day for the ref to lose his voice.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear any of the calls.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
And there were a lot of calls.
There were like, I think there were 25 penalties, and that includes like offsetting and declined.
It was very funny in this game because half the time I didn't even know what they were calling. And I'm just thinking about all these poor Brazilians watching American football for the first time. Like, what is that call?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to touch the quarterback ever? Like, what is this?
I think I've ever seen offsetting too many men on the field in my life.
Yeah, I think you should be able to just go with it. Like once a game, each team gets 12 guys out there and just let them play.
Yeah, why not? I also think, and this didn't come up today, but I always thought if there's a 5-yard penalty and a personal foul, they shouldn't offset.
I kind of agree with you.
I think the major should take precedence over the minor. But anyway, that's off topic. Another Kenny Gainwell only caught one pass, but that was a really nice play.
He moved.
He moved. He got to the sticks. He went through some traffic, and he got a fresh set of downs when they needed it. It was his only target. That was nice to see. He didn't seem to play a whole lot. Saquon had 26 touches. I didn't see him leave the field a whole lot.
It was weird that he left the field on that drive, and there was some speculation that he got hurt. But I mean, during that drive, he was just on the sideline with his helmet on. I guess they just wanted to get Gainwell a series and give Saquon a little breather.
Yeah, he did a lot of heavy lifting. Tough dude.
Yeah, he certainly is. You got anything else on offense?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll get the defense on the other side and see if I can't make my shuttle back to the hotel.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. The Eagles gave up 414 yards of offense to the Packers. How do you want to handle defense here? Do you want to talk some good, talk some bad? Let's first talk about the personnel in this game. No Isaiah Rodgers, so the Eagles come out with Quinyon Mitchell and Darius Slay as their outside cornerbacks. And then Avonte Maddox gets to start as the nickel. Some rough go there for Avonte. They were kind of picking on him. And then Cooper DeJean was on the field as the extra defensive back in the dime package. So he got his feet wet a little bit too.
Yeah, which is a little surprising to me. He's only been practicing a few weeks, but that just tells you how smart he is and how well he was able to pick things up. I thought they played better than the stats kind of showed. I thought they were very good in the red zone. So they gave up a lot of yards, but I mean, I think there were 3 possessions inside the 15 where they forced a field goal. The first 2, I thought, really set the tone for the game. Those first 2 possessions after the 2 turnovers, that the game could have gotten out of hand really quickly. So to hold them to a couple field goals there. Packers also had a drive down to the 25, not the red zone, but they missed a field goal. So 4 possessions in the 25 and in where they got 9 points. Look, they made a lot of big plays, scored a lot of points, had a lot of yards. But I really thought guys made plays when they had to make them in some key moments. You mentioned Reed Blankenship's interception. That was the biggest of all. Zach Bond was a beast. I mean, Zach Bond played.
Yeah, there was he had that big missed tackle in the first half.
Yeah.
But man, the roughing the passer call was just ridiculous.
Yes.
And I didn't see a replay of it, but I was shocked they threw that.
Yeah,
you're allowed to follow through. Like the quarterback's throwing the football, he shoved him.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
There was a lot I didn't understand, but 15 tackles, 2 sacks, including the one on the final play, or the final Jordan Love play. And gosh, I hope that kid's okay. It didn't look good.
Yeah.
But he finished, he clinched the game I guess the sack was on Willis.
Yeah.
The Jordan Love wasn't. I'm sorry, but he had an early sack. It was on the play. Jalen Carter had the personal foul, but the sack still counts. But he had 2 hurries.
And that was funny because I didn't have a replay, and I was like, "What did Jalen Carter do?" Because I was thinking like maybe it was a phantom call, and you're like, "No, he earned that one.
He punched a guy in the face."
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bond made a lot of big plays. He did have that bad missed tackle. I think it was on a Josh Jacobs run. Tackle for loss, 2 quarterbacks.
No, it was on the touchdown, I think.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it was on the touchdown. Yeah, I thought he played really well, and it was a mixed bag for just about everybody. I mean, Nakobe did some good things, but then he drops that. I mean, you can't drop that. That's like
that could have been the game.
That would have been. Yeah, I feel like it would have been the game. And
I mean, it almost was like what a swing. That was like a 14-point swing.
Yeah,
potentially.
It was. Yeah, I mean, he would have scored. There was nobody there. He's got to make that play. I know he's a linebacker, but got to make it. You got to. It's right.
And then look, Nakobe coming downhill. We've always said this. He makes that big play to blow up the screen coming downhill. That's a beautiful play. Yeah. Then there was the one he kind of gets lost in coverage. I think that's the thing with Nakobe is that, if he's running downhill, he can be fierce. He can make plays. You still wonder just about his ability to get back in coverage. And especially at his limited size, like he's not tough to throw over. So I think that there's kind of good and bad with him sometimes.
No question. It was also his 5th career start. And he's 23. So we'll see. I thought there were some encouraging signs, but jury's still out. No doubt about it. I thought Quinyon really battled. He had 1 penalty. He got beat here and there, but
that first play, the coverage down the sideline against, was that Watson?
And I thought he was actually getting a penalty for that.
That was just good coverage.
I thought so, but you have a young kid a rookie making his first start. The refs usually call that.
Yeah, and he had another pass breakup. I thought he looked pretty good today.
I did too. Yeah, I really like him. And first game. I mean, first game in the NFL. That was a really good start. What
would you do? What would you do with the nickel spot? Avante had a rough game.
Yeah, he did. If Cooper DeJean is physically ready and mentally ready, which I'm sure he is, I mean, we don't know how long Isaiah Rodgers is going to be out, but I think I'm at the point where I would try. I mean, it sounds crazy. You're going to have 2 rookies out there, but if he can handle it, Avante, there was some tough sledding for him today.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were kind of picking on him, especially at the touchdown. They put Watson inside. He's a bigger body. That's always going to be kind of a struggle for Avante. I don't know. I thought they really had 2 options coming into this game, and the other one was to play Quinyon inside and out and then have Keely Ringo take the outside reps. There's more moving pieces there, so I understand why Vic went with what he went with, but I'm not sure it was the best decision.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that and see where they go from here. Yeah. What did you think about pressure? I thought, I mean, they edge guys didn't have any sacks. Bond had their only 2 sacks. But I thought they pressured well from the inside. I thought Jalen Carter he didn't have any sacks, but I thought he had some really good pressures. I really thought they I thought they got in Jordan Love's face a lot and made him rush some throws. I thought they pressured better than the numbers kind of say.
Okay. I'll have to rewatch the interior guys a little bit. I did see the Sweat had a really nice pass rush, got a big holding call. Right. I always think there should be a stat for that, like holding calls drawn as an edge rusher, because I mean that's as good as a sack, and it doesn't go down. Not as good because the down doesn't change, but it's a really good play, and it matters. There should be a stat for that somewhere.
That's Torrey. What's his name? Torrey Smith used to say there should be a stat for
drawing DPI. Yeah.
Because he would draw
that was a big play. You know who had a nice rush? Moro Ojimo.
He did
on 3rd and 5, which just the fact that he's out there is notable. He was right in Jordan Love's face. He caused that incompletion. Love threw it out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, I agree, and I just wonder if that's frustration with the other edge guys late in the game. Like, I mean, that's a big play. That was a big 3rd and 5. They're down in the soup, and he got in there. So I wonder if we might see some more of him.
Yeah. I didn't see a ton of pass rush from Nolan Smith, but I did see 2 really good plays in coverage. This probably didn't show up on the TV copy, so you have to see it on the All-22. But there were plays where he looks pretty comfortable dropping in the coverage, and he took throwing lanes away from Jordan Love in this game. I saw it two different occasions.
Well, they're thin at safety. He would only have to lose like 12 pounds.
Yeah, no, but I mean, look, like obviously they're paying him to rush the passer, but those are big plays too. And in this defense, the edge players are going to have to be asked to drop in the coverage at times, and he can handle it.
Yeah, no question. Just to get anything positive out of him is good to see. And you're right, I did not see those, so I will eagerly await the All-22.
Yeah, I really need to rewatch this game in general because, like I said, we're kind of in the corner of the stadium. It was tough to see. The whole first half, it was like we were in one corner, so all the action was on the other side of the field. So my binoculars were put to good use today.
Yeah, hard to believe. Was there a lot of conversation about the state of the field post game?
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad, and we were down there on the field in pregame. And I'm watching it, and guys are slipping a little bit. Now, I kind of agree with Saquon. Like, it's a field you're not used to playing on. You should probably really test it out. And I know guys are hesitant to put their studs in, but they needed them on this field. It was a shame because you come down here, and I know they put work in. We talked to John Ferrari about, they said that the grass was going to be really similar to what they played on. Jalen Hurts had a little dig at it. I don't know if you caught it. He said it's not what we're used to playing on, but we've played on something like it before. I think that was a little nod to the Super Bowl field.
Good for him.
Yeah, look, it was a shame. The field wasn't good.
Yeah, it was a shame. And both running backs. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I think after 10 carries had 8 yards, and then he I'm sure he either changed his cleats or put studs in. But yeah, it was unfit. It was a shame.
Yeah, because everything else about tonight was really cool. I don't know how much of it showed up on TV, but I have a headache right now because we had an open air press box and it was so loud.
Really?
Just all the time loud for the Packers, loud for the Eagles, maybe a little louder for the Packers, if I'm being honest. I think they had more fans there.
Nick seemed to be complaining that the fans were loud when the Packers came on the field, which I didn't really I didn't get that.
I guess because the Eagles were the home team. It was a relatively 50-50 split, but maybe more like 55-60% Packers fans.
Okay.
Heard some loud "Go Pack Go," but it was loud for the Eagles too, and it was fun because it was technically an Eagles home game. So before kickoff, you heard the Rocky music play in South America, which is fun, and then after the game, they played the fight song following the win. So that part was kind of neat.
Just like home.
Not close. They got a long. Imagine the Packers now have a 13-hour flight after losing a game they probably feel like they should have won.
I wonder, can Green Bay Airport accommodate like a jumbo? They fly to Appleton, whether they fly to Milwaukee and then bus. I wonder how that works. I
don't know. So this was another home field advantage thing, though. The Eagles had the hotel really close to the stadium, and it still took them like a half hour, 40 minutes to get here. The Packers, it took them, I heard, like an hour and a half to get to the stadium today.
Really?
That's a significant home field advantage. The Eagles got to pick
their... me to get to work from Bucks County, get down to Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, you don't have to play a football game.
That's true. I just have to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that stuff's not ideal. There were a lot of logistical things.
I don't know if I told you. It took us like 3 hours to get from our hotel to the game today.
3 hours?
Between 2.5 to 3 hours.
Wow. I
can't tell you if I already made this deal with other people. If I go back to Philly and complain about the traffic, this is all the listeners too. You're allowed to hit me. Give me after a few months, let me be. But for the first few months, I'm back in the States. If I complain about the traffic, either tell me to shut up or hit me because it's nothing compared to what I've experienced here.
Can't imagine. I think it was our colleague, Martin Frank, who said Every road is like the Schuylkill.
Oh yeah, worse. Yeah, it's insane. But I mean, I can't, like, the atmosphere in the stadium tonight was really fun. It was really cool. I think the Eagles enjoyed it. Now I don't know if they would have enjoyed it if they lost, but it was fun. And Saquon talked about he had goosebumps when the Brazilian national anthem played. That was really cool. Unbelievable. Like, the whole crowd was singing. 47,000 people.
They showed people crying, like close-ups.
Yeah, it was really cool. Crying. And I can't tell you, the people from Brazil are going to watch this, because I can't tell you how many people are Eagle Eye fans that I ran into on this trip.
Really?
And we know we have international people who listen to this podcast. I'd say a good dozen or so, and that's of the people who I just happened to run into, told me they watch us and they listen to the pod. I found that really cool.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah.
We're big in Brazil.
How about that?
Like Jerry Lewis in France.
I don't know that reference.
Oh, Dave.
All of Ruben's pop culture references are from like 20 years before I was born.
Jerry Lewis in France. You know who Jerry Lewis is?
I know Jerry Lewis. He was the sidekick guy, right?
Yeah, he became like he was a movie guy. He was, Sammy Davis and all those guys. For some reason, he was like revered in France.
Oh,
it's actually, I believe Jerry Lewis. I feel like Jerry Lewis in France, I believe, is an album by, it's the guy who does soundtracks now. I feel like you're going to miss your shuttle because I
missed my shuttle while you're looking this up.
Ben Vaughn. Ben Vaughn, he does like TV music now. He's a Philly guy. I once saw him in concert in Pennsauken. It's another story. Anything else you want to touch on before we go?
We can touch special teams real quick. Covey's nice return got called back, but he looked good on that one. The two kick returners were Will Shipley and Kenny Gainwell, like we kind of expected. It's more of a running back play. I think I'm out on the new kickoff rule. I wanted to wait and see. I don't know. Just give them the ball at the 25. Forget the play. I'm sorry I was so excited about it.
No, there was reason to be excited. It was something different. They were trying to spice things up, but it's just not happening for me.
Now, the Eagles did get caught by that one squib kick because it came in hot, and Gainwell had trouble fielding it and ended up with pretty bad field position.
Yeah, like the 11 or something.
Yeah. It was. So, I mean, that's something to think about. If I'm a team, I don't think I do that every time, but I think once a game, you surprise a team with a squib kick.
Yeah.
And you see if you can't get them backed up in like a key moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, a penalty on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
On the first kickoff. That was a rough start to this one. Is it Keely Ringo?
Yeah, it was Keely, but it was kind of a sign of things to come.
It certainly was. A lot to clean up.
Yeah, and look, when you get back, I mean, we'll talk about I think it's going to be challenging, and I know it sounds crazy because the Falcons game is in 10 days, but a trip like this can take a lot out of you. A trip like this with a game in the middle and then another trip like this all in like a 3 or 4 day span. So they have a lot of work to do. They're off till Thursday, but just got to really focus on hydration over the next week and nutrition and sleep and just all those important things. I'm glad to see you're getting hydrated.
You got to do it.
Got a long flight ahead of you.
I do. I guess we should also mention it looked like the Eagles left this game without any major injuries, which is a really good thing given the conditions of the field. There are a few guys who got banged up throughout the game. Quinyon Mitchell and CJ Gardner-Johnson on the same play, but they both returned. AJ at one point looked like he got hurt, but he popped up, missed one play, and came back in. So after you saw what happened to Jordan Love, and I don't know his status, I think you should feel pretty lucky if you're an Eagles fan and you're the Eagles that you kind of escaped this one without major injury.
Yeah, it was cool to see Jalen, as soon as the game ended, went over to the Packers bench and found
good
Jordan Love and had a few words. And he said during the week he doesn't really know him. Look, Jalen had a bad game, threw bad interceptions, but he's a class act. He's a pro, and he's a good guy, and I'm sure that meant a lot to Jordan Love. It didn't look good. You don't want to speculate, but, man, that really sucks. And I'll tell you what, I thought that play should have been blown dead for in the grasp. And you're really putting a quarterback at risk when you don't call that. And I don't know if the refs were like, well, we're going to give him every chance to make a play here at the end of the game. He was in the grasp. His forward motion stopped, and they didn't blow the whistle, and he got hurt. I'm not saying he wouldn't have gotten hurt if they blew the whistle, but that's why you have that rule in there to protect the quarterback.
How did the live Q&A go? Yeah,
it was fun. It was really fun. We were over at Xfinity Live with Michael and Barrett and Jaws, and Ashlyn hosted it, and a lot of fans there. That's a cool place. And we were in the NBC Sports Bar, I guess it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where they had some really good looking food, and it's a nice place. People were digging it, and we had a good time out there.
That's great.
Yeah.
When I did my I guess you didn't hear it on my pregame hit. It was so loud. They had us next to the DJ. I had to crank up my IFB just to be able to hear Michael. So I was like, I think I was screaming into the microphone just so I could hear it. I hope it was okay.
No, it sounded good.
All right, good. Fun. You have anything else before we wrap this up?
No, just please have a safe trip back, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, thanks. This has been really a cool experience. I'm glad I got to do it. Really fun, and it was a fun game too.
It was definitely fun. It was. I have to look up the last time the Eagles won a game when they trailed 4 separate times. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was on the seesaw a little bit in this.
A little bit.
We don't have time.
For fun adventure in 10 observations world.
Yeah, I bet. We don't have time for questions because I'd like to get to my hotel tonight. But if you have one, we'll get them on the next episode. eagleeye@nbcuni.com is that email address. If you're watching on YouTube, you have that QR code. You can scan it and send one in there. This is also where I tell you guys, if you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. That's it for Rube. I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.